It is Wednesday, May 31st at 5:34 p.m. I'd like to call the special village board meeting to order. We're going to convene to closed session for chapter 19.85, parent 1, parent C, considering employment of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, the village clerk interview, and to go to closed session. We'll do a roll call.
Caleb Garn.
Chris Dubak.
Myself, yes.
Chris Marino.
Brandon Crone.
Donnie Kern.
Okay, we're gonna go into closed session and we're gonna talk about you guys and then we're gonna come out and grab you guys one by one and then,
Oh, he's coming.
yeah, it's fine, we can go in there. Coming out of closed session, there's nothing to report just yet at this time. Public comment on agenda items, 2 minutes per person, 14 minutes per item, and we don't have anybody in the village hall.
There's 2 people on Zoom.
Oh, there's 2 people on Zoom. Do you want to ask them if they have any public comment? And it doesn't have to be on agenda items. They can have a public comment on anything
Are we changing that?
today.
You ever change that
Yeah,
long term?
sure.
It's in the ordinance.
We don't want to change the ordinance back. Why did we change it first? All right, conversation of the day.
All right, anybody with a public comment?
From the iPad, no
Nope.
comments.
And
I'm
Donnie?
assuming no comment from Debbie
Nope.
either.
Okay. So number 5, discussion proper procedure guidelines for selling and or bargaining of village owned land. I put that on the agenda. So tired of hearing all the rumors about what's sold and not sold. From 2 months ago, I heard from Caleb that there's 3 buildings that's going up in a certain spot and there's this and there's that. I'm like, I would like, as a being on the village board, I would like to kind of know what's going on instead of looking like a not so informed person. Well, this was even before we got voted on. It's like, yeah, 3 buildings are going up.
Where was that at?
Where did he tell me, or where was the buildings going up?
Yeah, I never heard it. The lot next to Sportsman. There's 3 buildings? So I heard.
So I think the issue with it is sometimes there's a lot of stuff that's up in the air and nothing's ever really decided, and there's things that we're working towards. And I found that out a lot in being new. It was like, oh, this thing's coming along, and then all of a sudden we go to before a village board meeting and just everything falls through the cracks, or an owner falls through at the last second. So I think that's one caveat that needs to be added. And everything that said is like, nothing is ever done until it's brought before the board. And there's a lot of stuff that's being worked on, like there, people and businesses are working on stuff all the time. But unless it's brought in front of, and I think that's why a lot of times with Bob is pretty, he's not really forthcoming on a lot of information, because a lot of times it falls through. Like the sports complex that's on the planning commission now, that was supposed to be put in a different place, and that was supposed to be done, and we were supposed to be started on that already and running water up to it. That was the plan. And then the elections happened and everything kind of changed. So it's like, things change constantly. So I think us as a board just need to be aware that the only time anything ever happens and we vote on it and it's official is when it comes in front of the board.
And I talked to Paul, the village attorney, about this, and I'd like to see some parameters, because if we have village property that's for sale, do we just give it to our buddy for $1 or whatever, and then we have to approve it later on? Or do we say, okay, we got this lot, we'd like to sell this lot. Should we get it appraised? Should we have it on Zillow? Should we have it on the MLS? Or should we just, the first person that comes along and offers $1 or $1.50, I think we need to, if we should look at each individual village lot that we have, decide if we even want to sell it, and then what that price tag should be through proper appraisals and the proper channels.
Well, it goes a little deeper than that, though. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but that some of those parameters that you put on there would have to be subject to, review by the village board, because if somebody's going to buy piece of property, like you said, not necessarily a buddy or whatever, but if somebody's gonna buy a piece of property and develop it, and it's gonna be for the betterment of the village, we'd have to take that into consideration if it doesn't fall within
Sure.
those parameters that you're saying, that it doesn't fall with the appraised, amounts.
So
However,
I think we're saying the same thing.
well, the thing though is with any, buddy that's acting on behalf of the village and wanting to have a discussion about purchasing that kind of stuff should really enter into some kind of confidentiality agreement so that it's not all over town and discussing stuff like that. So it puts people like us into precarious situations when they say, hey, what's going on about this and that? And we don't have any idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that's coming from the business, from those people who are dealing with Bob.
Yeah, I don't know, but if he
So
said,
who
hey, I
told
can
you?
talk to you about this stuff, but
Three buildings,
I need you to put a confidentiality agreement or sign a confidentiality agreement to have those discussions. It remains,
Don't we
you know.
all sign like NDAs when we take our oath?
No.
So I've got some questions just to understand the intended process. So like acquisition of the lot where the coffee shop is. That's all tied to a TIF or a TID or something, right? So who's the guy that made the pitch on that? Like, he's not an
Ellers.
accountant.
Ellers.
Engineer,
And that's our engineer.
No, it's-
Oh, Ellers.
make the pitch on.
It's financial.
Yeah, he did the
For
TID, the TID.
Yeah, the
TID
financial
three.
planning, yeah.
So my understanding of it is they laid out, yep, the village can or should purchase this land. And if they do that, then you need to build something on that land that's gonna have an incremental tax value of $1.5 million.
By 2025. Because by 2025 is when you can no longer invest into that district.
So, yeah, so it's even more complicated due to the time clock starts.
Mhm.
So I wanna understand more about how that stuff gets structured and actuated, and the reason I wanna understand it is I think we're missing a key opportunity to go out and promote / invite, sell, whatever you wanna call it. These opportunities out into the world to developers. Cause there are a lot of hungry developers right now, and a lot of them are looking at St. Croix County.
Yeah, the way that kind of came about was, so Bob was having continued discussions with John, and he was basically he's like, I'm not paying that. There's no way I'm paying you that for that land. And they tried to do some stuff where they were like, gonna do some different kind of land swapping and those are the kinds of conversations that Bob has. And then basically got to the point where the negotiations had completely broken down. And he's like, we gotta bring this in front of the board. The board needs to do this. It all should have been done in closed session, really. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So that's kind of how all that came about. And then, based on the fact that we need the turn lane and all that, our negotiations basically happened in the wide open on that meeting. And
That
that's
was by request of the seller of that property.
Yes.
That was not
not typical.
proper procedure at
Yes.
all.
So that's the only land I've ever been involved in, and we never went through the proper procedures or
Well,
what.
the village has that lot now, which is gonna get a turn lane, that lot, I had some developer message me about trying to put fourplexes next to where the marine, St. Croix Marine is, and like, they didn't even know any of this for sale, we got more land.
We don't have any land next to St. Croix Marine and Power,
Across the street.
right?
This is
So
It's
the-
not- it's privately owned.
By the, it says Village of St. Croix is, or Village of Somerset is the owner. And it's an acre. Right to the east.
Yeah, we own land up there. Cause that was
Next
the,
to St. Croix Marine and Power.
somebody
on
up there, there
Aspen?
was a spot up there. Cause we were gonna give, I don't know if it's on Aspen, I think it's on across the street from BP or in one of those
No,
strip
that
malls up
big-
there.
Just to the east
That
side
big
of the,
lot.
Well, something, he was trying to, Bob was gonna swap something up there at some time.
Like a food pantry?
No, with John. This down here, that was like gonna give some money and swap a chunk of land up there.
There's no value on that.
Well, if we own property, shouldn't there be some sort of a marketing development or
We
something?
have done that in the past. It costs a lot of money and we went nowhere
Okay,
with it. So, I
it
mean,
was a loss.
like I was saying to, I know I'm really not supposed to be part of the conversation, but I was talking to Mike earlier and it's very frustrating when items are placed on agendas for you guys to discuss without the staff that would be involved in all of this.
Also, like, we
Being
should have
here.
this conversation with Bob here.
Or if you have a question about property that's purchased to any of us, you know, we're here, that's our job.
Yeah,
So can property be purchased without board approval?
No,
No,
and none has been purchased.
Yeah. I'm just not wanting to understand what's,
Purchased or sold, I should say.
But we've given, Bob gets a lot of flexibility within his role to be able to,
that is his role.
because yeah, that's his role as economic developer. And Bob has a lot of connections around here and he is trying to make sure we're bringing in stuff that makes sense. Like some people wanted to build like a casket building thing in one of the things and it was big. And he knew about the business and big, stinky, dirty, and he's like, it's not the right fit. So I'm sure a lot of stuff has come in where Bob has said, this is maybe it's not the right fit. I mean, if you want to be in on those conversations, I think. you can
I don't,
Bob.
I would like guidelines for us to try to go by if we have. Property that's gonna be for sale. Some kind of guidelines and I'd like some assistance from our village attorney too. Cause they go through this all the time. I don't think it should be up to one guy to be able to sell the village land or whatever. And not that he can, but
Yeah.
he's making all the deals, but do you see any buildings going up? Cause I don't. He didn't have anything to do with Quick Trip.
Or you're asking if buildings went up, Quick Trip went up, did it not? Family Dollar went up, what else has gone up?
All right, so.
I think it's a
the point
bigger
is,
thing is,
I'd
yeah,
like
I
to
think
see
the
some
big-
guidelines.
I think the bigger thing that I see out of it is having a kind of an understanding that Bob's job is to try to develop economically and giving him the parameters on that, but also understanding that, you know, most of that stuff, you know, we are part of this village, you know, too, and us being approached as, you know, trustees is important. And you know, as well as I do, most of the time, in my experience, is that he comes with an offer and this is the offer and it hardly ever gets challenged or discussed because we don't know enough about it at that point in time to do anything other than, well, the negotiations have already been done by Bob. So therefore, we're just going to approve it. And it's pretty much been a, you know, rubber stamp on that regards because, you know, or we go by their recommendations. And all I say is that's fine. You want to have negotiations, keep it between them unless you want to involve us, but don't let it out of the bag so that we get blindsided in the town.
Yeah, maybe it would be a good idea to enter those people into NDA agreements, whoever we're dealing with business wise.
But if we have a thing that's for sale, shouldn't like everybody know it's for sale instead of just. He goes to one person
I
and
guess I'm not looking for land, so I guess I don't really,
but you're not a developer.
so I imagine developers would know how to get the land, right?
It's not even on Zillow. It's not on the MLS. It's not listed anywhere. So if I'm a developer and I'm looking for
If you go
land.
to Somerset, can you look it up? If you go to Somerset page,
It's
does it
not on
show up?
it's not on the village website, is it? Andrea, I haven't seen it.
Land for sale? No.
So
I know
this is back,
we do use St. Croix County Economic Development Corporation a lot and, what a lot of times happens is potential businesses contact Bill Rubin and then Bill Rubin says, hey, I know Somerset has this land, this lot in their industrial park or whatever. that would be perfect for you, and then he connects the business person with Bob, not just, it doesn't just go through.
But if we have land for sale, why isn't it listed for sale? But I'm hearing that there's gonna be a purchase agreements and
From the rumors in the town.
has anybody else in this room heard that there's a purchase agreement for the old Ben's and Archie's lot?
From people around town or what?
Just from your email, so outside of that, I haven't.
Yeah, maybe.
I haven't heard of a PA, but
Well, Gunther told you there was 3 buildings going up.
he
I,
didn't tell me 3 buildings were going up. He said somebody wants to put 3 buildings on that lot.
I think there's been plenty of interest in that lot, it's just
Mhm.
obviously nothing's been finalized, so. I think,
and then I heard it from the owner of Rendezvous and Sportsman at a meeting I was at with them, one of the people, that's Nikki Jokey, that works at Makers, local Makers Market or whatever it's called. She said, yeah, Tara's got they got a signed purchase agreement for it for $1. So fairly decent information, so.
like Brandon said, I usually don't trust anything until it comes before the board, so there's a lot of hearsay and all that stuff. and
That's why it would just be nice to have.
Social
I
media.
knew from some
Just the
conversations,
people,
I knew we were working towards that way, but if I have questions about Bob, just ask him what's going on with this lot, what's going on down here. I just asked him.
Yeah.
Just call him on the phone.
He's pretty forthcoming, but he likes to keep things close to the vest, obviously.
But he's had so much stuff fall through the cracks. I mean, we've had full up. TIDs of houses that were on the books, ready to be built, and years of work just fall through the cracks. We've had fights with tubers break out in front of land developers that are coming in to buy tons of land, and a fight breaks out right in front of them. They go, we're getting out of this. What are we doing? So there's plenty of times where stuff has happened and it's fell through, and that's the nature of business. I mean, you're a businessman, you know how it goes.
Yeah, but I like to do things the right way and with full transparency on things. And I
Did
just
you
don't-
call Bob to ask him about any
I
of
don't
this?
have to call everybody. I think we just need like some procedures. You know, something in.
You don't think you have to call the economic developer if you have economic development questions?
This is for a different meeting, but. I would like to make a motion to,
It's just for discussion.
go. Discussion, I'd like to get some more information from our village attorney on how other places handle it, because I do not like getting blindsided by people and. I don't like what seems like backdoor deals,
Clearly, it's not true. Right?
clearly what's not true,
Whatever you heard is not true.
I'll bet you $100 it is.
It hasn't come through here yet, so you know it isn't.
But if I get you a copy of that signed purchase agreement tonight, would you leave it and pay me $100?
Sure.
I think, we need to probably, just,
Or so. We just need more information on how other places do it, so we don't look like idiots.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
I think if we hear stuff like that, we just gotta say that's hearsay until the board votes on it.
And I think conversations with Bob would be nice too, so. I don't like talking behind people's back, but them knowing about it and being able to obviously talk about what he does and all that stuff, so. If you're not aware, then he's more than happy to talk about what his job is and what he does and why he does it, so. But. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Brandon Crown second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed?
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Can I write this down?